Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for CFIUS for being with us here today. Let me be very clear. The U.S. Homeland is not for sale. That means not our military bases, not our family farms, not our key industries. My home state of Iowa has seen agricultural espionage before. Chinese spies were stopped at the Des Moines airport for stealing seeds, literally going to a farm field and pulling them out of a test unit. But because of good work here in the United States, we were able to stop those agents at the Des Moines airport before they fled back to China. Now they can do it blatantly over line. The challenge here is that as I sit on the China Select Committee, I understand the CCP's tactics to penetrate the U.S. market and establish a presence here in the United States. We need a CFIUS program that works. And we welcome foreign investment in the United States, but there needs to be a more thorough and transparent process for understanding and addressing the entities of concern. I think of CFIUS like airport security in a lot of very good ways. We want to move legitimate travelers or legitimate investment into the United States successfully while quickly stopping and identifying those threats before they can enter the United States and take root, as I noted with the Chinese. Right now, we're making everyone wait in that same tragically slow line. As a result, I've called on Treasury and CFIUS several times to Congress to review and address the national security issue which we flagged, the Bitman and Kango active in the digital asset space. This is iRobot and other robotics that are now flowing back to Beijing. The challenge here is not only could you have a ROMBA that could map your entire area and report that back, but the very fact that the Chinese are using lawfare to be able to acquire sensitive proprietary information, whether it be corn seeds or robotics, and take that back to replicate inside Beijing. This is a concern that affects all of us. So, Mr. Pilkington, I appreciate your leadership as Assistant Secretary for Investment Security at Treasury. I think members of Congress, we want to make sure that we've got clear insight in the CFIUS review process, particularly where it's most appropriate. I want to ask some specific questions here, and I appreciate the conversation today. Is there a reason that we on the Financial Services Committee can't get updates on our requests, specifically Treasurer's response to my letter about Bitman and the work that CFIUS said is a matter that we can't share anything? Can we get into a SCIF? Can we understand what's going on? Can you help provide the clarity to this body so that we can better address legislative solutions with you?
Congressman, I certainly appreciate the question. I'm not familiar with your letter, but happy to engage with our legislative team to come back and speak with your staff. But you raise a couple of really important points that I'd like to speak to, if I may. The first is the engagement of this committee is very important. And as I stated before, the ability to be able to come to you and work with you to see if there are authorities or things that the program might need to be able to ensure that national security remains the number one, and the abilities and processes are in place there is going to be incredibly important. And I feel very strongly that we have that now. You made reference to the agricultural area. Earlier in 2025, Secretary Bessent signed an MOU with Secretary Rollins to focus particularly in areas of ag land, biotech, transportation, storage, and processing. So just for you and your constituents, I want you to know that that's an area I've spoken to Secretary Rollins about personally, Deputy Secretary Baden, and it's very high on our radar, and we're excited to have them as part of the committee for those transactions.
I'm very encouraged to hear that feedback. I think that is a move in the right direction. When we look at, I think there's 330 transactions annually that your team reviews. That is no small accomplishment. At the same time, I want to make sure that there are prioritizations happening within there. I have to assess that CFIA is doing some level of elevation for key things that are really critical to the United States. Can you speak to us on how that process is working now so we can go after these top-tier bad actors first versus looking at everything in a monolithic approach?
Sure. So from a process perspective, going back to your sort of airport analogy, we have the Known Investor program that is under development. It's still under a pilot. But the idea there is, when we look at the people that are engaged in a transaction and the actual transaction itself, we have to assess both of those components for the national security risk. Our hope and goal is that under the Known Investor program, we'll be able to get a better understanding of the parties from as much information as we can get now. That will continually be updated, as you would imagine, but that process will be as efficient as possible. We have a very
I'd like to make sure that we not only encourage this pilot program, but those who want to invest do have a clean, safe pathway to do it, and those who are dangerous are prioritized at the top. This is something we should be working on together. Thank you, Mr. Chair.